Welcome back to the hills. So let's say this is your first year of self-filming and you're at the point where you feel like you want to give up. You've been watching all these creators on YouTube and you've heard the talk of log shooting. You've heard of all these exposure things you need to do. You've been trying to figure out color grading. It's becoming a nightmare. I mean, it's taking away from the joy of what you thought self-filming was going to be. Well, I'm here to tell you that none of those things that you're worrying about need to be in your thought process while you're doing this. And in today's video, I'm going to kind of explain how I would suggest anyone that wants to get into self-filming, whether it's your first year or you've tried it before and you kind of want to dabble in it again, I'm going to give you some pretty basic tips on how I would go about getting into self-filming. So one of the very first things that I would suggest is keeping your gear as simple as possible. The camera I'm shooting on right now is the Sony FX30, and in the sense of self-filming, it's overkill. I mean, plain and simple. When I'm actually self-filming, I don't really use any of the benefits that the FX30 provides. I mean, you can shoot in Cinetone. You have all these color gradings. You've got log shooting that you can film in. I don't use it. There's really nothing on the camera, this camera, that I don't find in this camera. And this is the FX43. And if you've gone back and you've watched my how-to self-filming, the beginnings of it, I kind of talk about how this is really all you need. This and a microphone are all you need to shoot. I think one of the hardest things that you don't understand going into it until you've done it is in the moment. And I'm not talking about B-roll. I'm not talking about interviews or anything of that nature. I'm talking when that animal is actually walking in front of you. The only thing that you really should be focusing on is getting the animal in range and in frame, right? So when you've got a basic, handy camcorder, I don't have to worry about getting a focus ring dialed in. I don't have to worry about, is my ISO correct? Is my white balance correct? I don't have to worry about any of that. I can literally just point this lens at whatever it is that's walking in, zoom in or out if I need to, make sure, that the little focus square on the actual LCD screen is on it, and execute the shot. We all have this idea from watching people like Seek One and Levi Morgan and all of these big names on YouTube, or even on the Outdoor Channel, or Meat Eater, or things of that nature. And we're all trying to get that cinematic look. And that's great. I mean, if that is what you want to strive to do, by all means strive to do it. But if this is, your first rodeo, if you will, in the self-filming world, the reality is you don't have that skill set yet. And that's not to say that you don't get there one day, but you have to set a realistic expectation and a realistic goal for yourself so you don't burn out on it. I've seen so many times people, and myself included, if you go back and look at my Kentucky hunt this year, because I try to bring a higher quality picture to the platform, I messed it all up. Simply because the gear that I was using was too complicated for the situation that I was in. Those names that I just talked about, you have to remember, these guys have like professional crews behind them, right? And if you're fortunate enough where you and a buddy can go out there and you guys can, play around with your ISOs and your white balances and your zooms and your focus rings, and that's great. All for it. More power to you. But for the average Joe Blow, the weekend warrior, if you will, being able to talk someone into going out there on a Saturday when they could be cozied up in bed when it's freezing outside, that's kind of it's a hard ask for a lot of people. So I always try to, tell people, keep it simple. In that video of my suggestion for self-filming equipment, I said that this right here will do 99.9% of everything that you want it to do. I don't have to worry about my focus. I don't have to worry about my exposure. Can I? Yes. And can I grow on it? Absolutely. But the reality is that is all that I need to be able to do what I want to do. There's a pretty common saying in the content creation world that done is better than perfect, right? Sometimes just getting the shot is better than trying to focus on this perfect shot, because a lot of times you try to focus on this perfection that is basically unachievable. You'll never reach perfection, and we don't even follow through with completing the basics of getting a video to begin with. So really dial in on just getting something on film. Now, as you progress and as you grow, you can worry about, where your ISOs are sitting, where your exposure is sitting, where your white balance is sitting, manually focusing in on an animal to get that super crisp cinematic picture. But when it comes to just starting out, start with the basics. I can't tell you how many times that I've tried to go out and shoot in log and thinking that I'm going to go in and I'm going to do all of this color grading and I'm going to make this awesome cinematic photo. And maybe my interviews are perfect, the lighting on my interviews are perfect, or my B-roll just looks nice and crisp. But then when, the important things, right? So the deer coming in or the turkey or whatever it is comes in, and I'm so worried about where my exposure is sitting that I either miss the shot or I just give up on getting my exposure set correctly and I take the shot and I miss the actual camera shot. So I would highly recommend that you get something that has auto. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this FX30 here, all the features on it, I'll use it when I'm filming someone else, and I do quite frequently. When I'm filming someone else and the only focus that I have in my mind is the camera, then I'm going to shoot in log, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to do all my color grading afterwards in post-production. But when it's just me and the camera, everything on this $2,000 camera body is set to auto. I leave it on auto. I let the computer do what it's going to do, let it set where it's going to set. And sometimes that means I get some noisy footage. Sometimes it's grainy. Sometimes it's a little bit out of focus. But the reality is, I've got a shot. I have got something on film rather than nothing at all. And to me, as a self-filmer, that is more important than getting this absolutely picture perfect shot every single time that I go out. So I'm not trying to make this a, gear video, because I've already got one of those here on the channel, but I really want to emphasize on going with something that just makes life easy for you. Even if you do want to use like a mirrorless camera, don't sit there with all of these little trinkets that you have to carry around. Don't carry around 4 lenses to get the job done. Try to find yourself something that is kind of like the jack of all trades but master of none. I talked about this lens in the other gear video. This is an 18 by 105 power zoom lens, and basically with the style of mirrorless camera that I run, which is either the vlogging style or the cinema camera, I've got an actual zoom lever put on, or not put on, but it comes with a zoom lever, typically where the power switch would be on a quote unquote photo camera. And it makes it so I can do everything one-handed. And that also kind of brings me to, you hear a lot of guys say use optical zoom only on lenses, and I call hogwash on that. I am a huge digital zoom guy, right? Like I said, this is a 18 by 105 millimeter, and that 105, I mean, it does good for about 50 yards, but if I'm talking about watching a deer walk in at 200 yards, I put that digital zoom on them and let them come in, because I would rather have grainy footage to tell the story than no footage at all, and all you see is me, shooting a deer or a turkey or whatever it is. So in the actual gear video, I talked about how more important than video quality is going to be your actual audio. And I still stand by that. If there's anything that you want to perfect and spend time on, it's going to be your audio. Like right now, I've got this wireless mic, which helps me a lot in post-production to, get out the noises that I don't want or kind of emphasize the noises that I do want, i.e. if I have to whisper or anything of that nature. But audio is going to be your most important thing, because where most content creators, like this video for instance, I had time to actually sit down and think about how I wanted to present this video to you, right? I could, if I wanted to, I could have wrote out a script. I don't like to do that because it's a little unnatural, but the fact is I have the ability to create the story. I set the rules on what the story is. When it comes to hunting, we do not get that option. We are basically given whatever nature wants to provide us that day, and it is up to us as the self-filmer to make sure that we're capturing everything in the moment to be able to tell the story in post-production. So lots of B-roll is vital. Shoot everything. Video squirrels, video leaves blowing in the wind. If you guys watch the hunting public, they're real big on taking videos of a specific scene throughout the course of the day, like the exact same frame, so they can show, the day passing. Take everything into consideration. There is no such thing as bad footage. The only bad footage is missed footage. So film everything, even if it's just your feet while you're walking into your stand. Film everything, because as I said, the story, you have no control over it. The woods are what determine the story for the day. So if you don't have that camera rolling, you're not going to have a story to tell. You might have all these ideas that you can say afterwards on camera, but if you don't have the footage, it's going to tank. You're not going to be able to express yourself just communicating like I am right now with the camera, like you would if you would have actually recorded it. So that's why I'm an advocate of carrying around a bunch of cameras. Now, like I said, I keep it simple. So maybe it's I'm carrying a handy cam and an action camera, or a handy cam and my cell phone, or a cell phone and my action camera, or my main camera and whatever the case is. You see how I can go on and on and on. You have to build a kit to you, because the reality is my big camera, while I'm hiking in, it's usually in my pack. So I'm always going to end up missing something. My personal, how I go about it is, this is typically, either on my head or maybe in my pocket or whatever. And then I have my actual interview camera, which is little vlog camera, sitting on the mount that this camera is currently sitting on, and it's got a carabiner system where I can clip it on and get some footage. Am I going to get the greatest footage? No, this thing doesn't really zoom in on anything. But like I said, having some footage is better than having no footage at all, because you're not going to be able to tell a story if you never get the camera out to begin with. And if that thing's in my bag and I jump a doe, or I see some squirrels playing in the top of a tree, or maybe a turkey or an owl or whatever it is, I can't just sit here and tell you guys, hey, while I was walking in, I saw a squirrel and I was playing in a tree. You see how boring that is? You want to be able to actually bring your viewer, whether it's just you, your family, or if you're wanting to do something like YouTube, you need to be able to bring your viewer something, so it's not just you running your mouth. We all love to hear you talk. I want to hear your wisdom more than anybody else. But at the end of the day, everybody learns better from watching, right? For the most part. That's kind of a broad statement, but you understand what I'm saying. So I'll leave you with this. Color grading, shooting in log, doing all this cinematic stuff, getting this crazy B-roll and these crazy kill shots, it's awesome. And I really, like, if you have the opportunity just to go out and film someone and not just be self-filming yourself, do it, because it absolutely takes your actual filming abilities leaps and bounds. And it does one day, and I hope one day I can, you'll be able to get all those cinematic shots while self-filming. But if you're getting to the point where you're getting ready to just go and sell all your camera gear because self-filming is not for you, pause. And ask yourself, am I keeping it simple? Or am I going out here and buying these $4,000 cameras thinking that somehow it's going to magically make this whole self-filming thing easier? Because the reality is, it doesn't. The only thing that makes this easier is time. Just like hunting. I guarantee you, for the most part, if you're thinking about self-filming, you've been hunting for a while. That's the only reason you've got the hunting skills that you've got, is because you've put the time into it. You've learned the mistakes and all the lessons the hard way, and now you're starting to get that momentum inside of your hunting career. I hate calling it a career, but for lack of better words, your hunting career. It's the same thing with filming. You can't truly go out there and enjoy it until you spend time doing it. So start simple. Let the computers inside of these amazing 2025 machines, or if you're watching this at a later time, the technology we have nowadays is out of this world, and all these automatic features are there to make your life easier. So let them focus on getting your animal in frame in somewhat of a clear photo. Doesn't have to be perfect. Get it put onto your computer, learn how to do the basics of editing, and put it out there for the world to see, or put it out there for you to see. Whoever you're doing it for, that's irrelevant, but just do it. Done is better than perfect. I hope you got a little bit of an insight on this video today, on little tips and tricks. If you did, please hit that like button down below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, see you on the hill.